Right, welcome back. More news at this hour. Russian President Vladimir Putin has told a summit of African leaders in St Petersburg that his country will send thousands of tons of free grain within months. Secure food supplies have been a major worry since the invasion of the Ukraine. Concerns worsened when Russia withdrew from a deal guaranteeing safe passage for Ukrainian grain exports. So let's get the latest now for our correspondent Leon Ssenyange. Leon, good afternoon. Perhaps you can give us an update on what really is transpiring, the significance of this Russia-Africa summit, given the charged geopolitical moment the world finds itself in.
Well, on the bright side, it's indeed been a very successful day for many of the African member delegations we have been able to speak to, even those that we have seen engaged in signing memorandum of understanding with the Russian companies here in different spaces, technology, education. Cameroon was seen signing a memorandum of understanding with a company that deals in printing, 3D printing. That is one of the pickups for the African nations. But of course, the political tide now spells something rather different. Russia is trying to pull African nations closer, and it could potentially gain success in that space. President Vladimir Putin today reiterating the fact that he is ready to support Africa in terms of securing food. Now, the big announcement, of course, one of the big announcements coming through is that 3 African nations will be accessing 50,000 tons of grain free of charge. That is Burkina Faso, Mali, and Eritrea. That is a step in the positive direction in the wake of the recent events around the Black Sea grain deal, which President Vladimir Putin felt that the developing countries needed to benefit a lot more. In the other spaces, he said that there should be engagement in education. The quotas for African students at Russian universities will definitely be increasing in this particular period of time. Trade is one of the areas that the Russian president emphasizes will be beneficial for both Russia and the African nations. He highlighted the fact that about 35%, there's been a 35% growth of trade within Africa. But importantly too, he said that African Union he'll be seconding the African Union to be a member of the G20. So lots of positives for the African nations to take away from the summit here.
Leon, thank you for that context. Because of the heads of state, present, some are questioning whether all the African leaders can work together really to find a favorable outcome for the continent at large. Really, what should the continent be prioritizing? What are the those who are in attendance responsibilities also at this point to represent the continent adequately, restore its agency at large?
Well, there's been a divide in the participation of African nations in this particular summit. Compared to 2019, where 43 nations took part, only about 17 heads of state have actually been available, and about 23 states have taken part. Several others are preferring to stay away. And this, of course, tells much about the potential or the capability for African nations to try and, think alike, push for development alike. And it is still one of those calls that the African Union chair, Aziz Assoumani here, was trying to emphasize to the African leaders in the summit. Just as much, these are the things that they believe will get Africa moving in the same direction. But one binding factor, again, will be food. The issue of insecurity, food insecurity on the continent, and the demand and the desire to have food, grain specifically, and fertilizers coming through from Russia is one that could get the African nations pulling together in the same direction. But collectively, Africa is desirous of trying to achieve some of the opportunities that are coming from Russia in the spaces of technology, information technology, science, trade, and even still security.
Thank you for that update. Leon Ssenyange is our correspondent live from St Petersburg, bringing us the latest emerging as the second Russia-Africa summit